All right, the next lesson in geometry is called Equations of Circles. Okay. Now, earlier this year, we learned about the Pythagorean theorem and the distance formula. Okay. And the equation of a circle is based on the distance formula and the fact that all points on a circle are the same distance away from the center. Okay. That's the definition of a circle. Okay. So here is the distance formula. It equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. If you replace the distance with the radius r, and you replace x and x1 and y1 with h and k because that's what's used for the center of a circle, it brings you to this formula, okay? And that is the formula that you need to know, okay? The equation of a circle with center hk, those are letters used for the center, and the radius r is given by this formula. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared, okay? Notice how it's subtraction. Okay, so example 1, write the standard equation of a circle with center 5, -2, and radius 7. So I'm just going to copy down the formula above first. You don't have to write this down if you don't want to. I'm just going to copy it down now for the notes. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. So it's going to be x minus 5 squared plus y minus -2 squared equals the radius, which is 7 squared. Okay, so you subtract the 5 and you subtract the -2. Subtract 5, subtract -2, and radius 7 squared. Now let's clean that up. X minus 5 squared can stay as is. Let's change the minus and negative to plus a positive. And then let's make the 7 squared 49, and that's the answer. Now, you don't have to do any of the first 2 steps. If you can go right to the answer, just go right to the answer, okay? Remember, you change the signs. So that's a positive 5, so that means that's a -5. That's a -2, so that means that's a positive 2. Okay, so these signs always change because the formula is subtraction. Okay. Example 2 is very similar. You might be able to go right to the answer for this one too, but I won't go right to the answer. I'll write out all the steps. First, I'll write the actual form. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. So x minus -2 squared plus y minus -1 squared equals the radius, which is square root of 5 squared. Let's clean that up. Let's make the minus negative plus a positive. So x plus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared. So again, you change the signs. -2 becomes plus 2. -1 becomes plus 1. Now, the square root of 5 squared, you should know that right away. Okay? The square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is just 5. We talked about that earlier in the year. Okay? Number 3 is more difficult. Write the standard equation of a circle with the center 1, -3, and it passes through the point 2, 2. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the distance formula from the front page. just going to recopy the formula right here. Subtract the x's. So I'll do 2 minus 1. I'll replace the d, the distance, with r for radius. Subtract the x's, so 2 minus 1 squared. Subtract the y's, 2 minus negative 3 squared. So d for distance, and I replace the distance with r for radius. You can make this plus a positive. 2 minus 1 is 1, so 1 squared. Plus 5 squared. That's 1 plus 25, which is 26. So now we can go into the formula for a circle. X minus 1 squared. I'm just going to go right to changing the sign. So y plus 3 squared equals the radius, which is square root of 26 squared. The square root of 26 times the square root of 26 is just 26. Okay. Again, notice how the signs change. That's a 1, so it becomes minus 1. That's a negative 3, so it becomes a plus 3. That was a hard one, so we'll do one more like that. Example 4 is the same thing as example 3. First, we're going to use the distance formula to find the radius. So I'll just copy down the distance formula right here. Again, it's from the first page. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So 2 minus negative 1 squared. I use r for radius now. Plus 3 minus 1 squared. You can make this plus a positive. So it'll be 3 squared plus 2 squared. That's 9 plus 4, which is 13. All right, now let's go to the main formula of a circle. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. So x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared. Equals the radius, square root of 13 squared, which you're going to make 13. Because the square root of 13 times the square root of 13 is just 13. Okay, that's the first half of the lesson. Now it's time for the second half. Graph, I think these are easier than the ones we just did. Graph the circle modeled by the equation x minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 25. Okay, so first what you're going to do is you're going to state the center and the radius off to the side. Okay, the center is opposite sign of that, comma, opposite sign of that. So it's 3, negative 2. And the radius equals not 25, it equals the square root of 25, which equals 5. Okay, so the center is opposite sign of that, comma, opposite side of that, so 3, negative 2. And the radius is the square root of 25, which equals 5. Now we plot this, or we graph this by plotting the point first. So the point is at, we plot the center first. Plot the center first, 3, negative 2. The radius is 5, so what we're going to do is from the center, we're going to count up 5 and put a point. Then from the center, you're going to count down 5 and put a point. And then from the center, you're going to count right 5 and put a point. And then count left 5 and put a point. So I'm going to use a compass to draw my circle nice, okay? You can just try your best if you don't have a compass. Okay. Okay. That looks good. I'm going to try to make it a little darker, so I'm going to use a colored pencil and make it a little darker. I'm going to scan this online. Okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, let's do another one. Graph the circle modeled by this equation. So again, let's state the center and the radius first. The center, opposite sign of that, comma, opposite sign of that. So the center is negative 1, 4. And the radius equals the square root of 36, which equals 6. So again, plot the center first, negative 1, 4. Plot that first. And then you're going to go up 6, plot a point, down 6, plot a point, right 6, plot a point, left 6, plot a point. Okay. And draw your circle. Do your best. Not bad. We're good. Make it a little darker, and then we'll move on to the last page. Okay, so the last page is basically the opposite direction of that page. You're given a graph, and you have to write the equation of the circle. So first thing what you're going to do is you're going to state the center and the radius. Do that off to the side. The center is 0, 0. The radius, if you count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the radius equals 5. So, I mean, you can do x minus 0 squared if you want, plus y minus 0 squared if you want, equals 5 squared because the radius squared. But you don't have to put the minus 0 because minus subtracting 0 doesn't do anything. So you're just going to put x squared plus y squared equals 25 for the final answer. Don't put minus 0 in the final answer. Okay. And last but not least, example 8. Same process. State the center first. 3, negative 4. Count to get the radius. 1, 2, 3. The radius is 3. And now here we go. X minus 3 squared, because you changed the sign, plus y plus 4 squared, because you changed the sign, equals the radius, which is 3 squared. The final answer, you're going to make that 9. X minus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 9. And that is the end of that lesson. That lesson was called Equations of Circles.